I'm 70 years old now, and I need you to understand something immediately. Because if you're in your 20s, you are standing on the most important ground of your entire life, even if it feels ordinary right now. At 25, I thought life was wide open. I thought I was early. I thought pressure was for later. Responsibility was for later. Seriousness was for later. I believed youth itself was a safety net. Strength. I avoided discomfort because I thought discipline could wait. Every day looked normal. Every year passed quietly. And that's the danger. Nothing felt wrong while everything was going wrong. At 25, I told myself I was still finding myself. That phrase sounded intelligent, almost responsible. In reality, it was an excuse to stay unfocused. I confused freedom with drifting. Disposable years. They are not meant to be wasted just because you can recover faster. They are the years when habits harden, identity forms, and momentum is built or lost. Every year you delay doing the hard things, life doesn't pause. It keeps recording. It keeps adding interest to your mistakes. And one day, you wake up older and realize you're not tired because you worked hard. You're tired because you didn't. The life you will live is being decided right now, in the choices you think don't matter yet. And I ignored that truth at 25, until ignoring it became my life.
The biggest lie I told myself at 25 was that I had time to fix things later. I treated time like it was renewable, like it reset every morning. I didn't understand that time is not a resource you manage. It's a debt you're quietly accumulating. But I never did what was necessary. I lived at the bare minimum of effort and called it balance. I thought discipline was something extreme people practiced. I didn't realize discipline is simply choosing what you want most over what you want now. At 25, I waited to feel ready. That's another lie that sounds reasonable but ruins lives. I waited to feel confident before taking risks. I winning their bodies, learning how money works, learning how to endure boredom and discomfort. They weren't smarter than me. They weren't luckier. They simply acted before they felt ready, while I stayed still and called it patience. I also believed consequences were far away. At 25, your body hides your neglect. Your mind hides your lack of discipline. Society hides your potential. You can eat badly, sleep poorly, and never developed. I mistook comfort for safety. I stayed in situations that felt familiar instead of pursuing growth that felt uncertain. I avoided failure so carefully that I also avoided success. I thought playing it safe was smart. What I didn't understand is that playing it safe for too long becomes the riskiest move of all. Because the real danger isn't failing early, it's arriving late to your own life.
There's another mistake I made at quietly sealed my future. And it's harder to admit because it felt so normal at the time. I lived like consequences belonged to some other version of me. I separated my present self from my future self, as if they were strangers. I told myself, he'll deal with it later. Later me would get healthier. Later me would get disciplined. Later me would fix the finances, the career, the relationships. What I didn't understand, they don't. Repetition does. The man I became at 70 wasn't created by one bad year. It was created by thousands of ordinary days where I chose the easy option. Skipping the workout once didn't matter. Wasting an evening didn't matter. Avoiding one hard conversation didn't matter. Except it did, because I repeated those choices until they became my character. I also avoided responsibility, suffering. I wanted progress without sacrifice, growth without pain, results without responsibility. That bargain doesn't exist. By the time I realized discipline wasn't punishment but protection, I was already tired. Not physically tired, spiritually tired. Tired of starting over. Tired of explaining why I was still behind. Tired of knowing I was capable of more. but having no proof to You wake up one day aware, and by then, the distance between who you are and who you could have been feels impossible to cross. I learned that too late, after years of mistaking comfort for peace and delay for wisdom.
The hardest moment didn't come when I failed at something. It came when I finally understood that no one was coming to save me, and never had been. At 25, I blamed because it removed responsibility from my hands. But responsibility is the only thing that gives you power. The longer I avoided it, the more powerless I became. Life didn't turn out the way I hoped because hope was all I ever invested. I waited for clarity instead of creating it. I thought the right opportunity would show up and make everything obvious. I thought one break would change everything. What I didn't understand is aren't the result of effort, but the absence of it. I didn't lack intelligence. I didn't lack opportunity. I lacked the willingness to suffer early so I wouldn't suffer later. I avoided being uncomfortable in my 20s, and now discomfort is permanent. Weakness that could have been temporary became my default state. That's the trade no one warns you about. Either you pay with discipline now, or you pay with regret later. And in your 20s, understand this clearly. The pain you avoid today doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows. It follows you quietly until it becomes your reality. You don't get punished for your mistakes. You get shaped by them. And I was shaped by avoidance, delay, and fear. Not because I had no choice, but because I kept choosing comfort when discipline was asking for my attention.
At 70, the most brutal truth isn't that I failed. It's that most of my regret comes from things I never even tried. The risks I didn't take, the standards I didn't hold, the discipline I postponed because it felt inconvenient. Failure hurts, but it fades. It's serious. A wake-up call. A moment so loud I couldn't ignore it. That moment never came. Life doesn't shout. It whispers. It whispers through boredom, through discomfort, through the quiet feeling that you're capable of more. I ignored those whispers until they stopped. And when they stop, you don't feel relief. You feel emptiness. If you're in your 20s, hear me clearly, without romancing yourself even when no one else knows, especially then. I spent decades believing I would change someday. I didn't understand that someday is a story people tell themselves to avoid the fear of starting. Change only happens on ordinary days, when no one is watching, when motivation is absent, and discipline is the only thing left. I avoided those days, and now they are all I have. I'm living proof.